Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So I recently was able to get myself a Switch 2, and I also am a big fan of the game called No Man's Sky. So I thought this would be an apt time to compare No Man's Sky across the different handheld devices that I have. So I decided to compare how No Man's Sky runs on Steam Deck locally, running it on Steam Deck through the new GeForce Now app, Switch and Switch 2. The way I decided to go about comparing it is initially start with showing you how long it takes to launch the game. Next part is to time how long it takes for the game to go from the loading screen, that is when you hit the load button, to the point that the game actually starts. This can actually let us know how fast the game runs on these devices. And then there is just a comparison of how the game looks graphically. I've actually recorded the video of playing these games directly on my devices instead of through some capture card. So the video might not look that great, but the idea is to show the main differences between these games across the board. So hope you like this video. So let's start. So let's begin with my Steam Deck. So this is the initial launch time where the game is still launching. It was processing the Vulkan shaders first, but I thought that that's not something that I'd like to capture. I have an option to skip, so I skipped it. And this is how long it takes for the game to actually launch on a Steam Deck natively. So I've noticed a small bug on Steam Deck where the controls don't immediately start working. So you have to hit the Steam button, go back, and then they suddenly work. I'm not sure if you face the same issue, but it's something that I have. So now let's see how long it takes for the game to actually load from the point that I hit the load option. So the game is currently installed on an external SD card. So that might make a difference. So if you have faster SD cards, maybe these load times would be better. But this is what I have right now on my Steam Deck. So from the point of clicking the save button to the point that it loads, it takes about 36.8 seconds. Now this is me launching the game on GeForce Now, which is equivalent to a 4080 graphics card and a high-end system at the GeForce end. So this is how long it takes for me to actually launch the game from the GeForce Now UI. This is again an amazing way of playing on Steam Deck because you can actually save on battery because it's actually streaming to your system instead of running natively. And then you get full-blown best graphics that you can potentially have through the GeForce Now servers, which run on 4080. So this is how long it actually took to launch the game. So this is from the point of clicking the load button, and let's see how long it takes. So this took about 15 seconds, which is almost half the time that it took on Steam Deck natively. Now let's look at the same for Switch from the point of launching. Now let's see how long it takes to actually load the game from the save file. this from the point of loading the save. This, I believe, is the oldest hardware of the four that I'm going to compare today, so I expect it to be slower. The one thing I did notice is Switch does have this specific screen during the load process. That's something that I did not see in either the Steam Deck local version or GeForce Now. There's something specific to Switch, and you'll notice the same screen even for Switch 2. But like expected, this is the slowest of the systems to actually load. But I'm really impressed how well optimized it is generally for a Switch, for a game, a procedurally generated game like No Man's Sky. It's amazing what Switch can deliver, and it also shows that if well optimized, any gaming developer can develop game for such hardware. So it's already taken about 4 times the time it took uh, for compared to Steam Deck launching natively. So this is the latest device. This is Switch 2, which I expect to perform much better than Steam Deck and Switch. So let's see how long this takes to launch, and then we can compare how long it actually takes to load from the save file. So this is comparing from the save slot to actually loading the game. So like I said, this specific screen, which was there for Switch version also, so I'm not sure why they have done it this way. This is definitely not there in the PC version. So it took about 49.66 seconds overall to go from the save slot. So this is a comparison. So obviously the fastest one here was the GeForce Now version. Then it took 36.80 seconds on a Steam Deck running natively. Switch took much longer, about 13 seconds more to go from the save slot to the actual screen. And obviously, as expected, it was slowest on Switch, which took about 1 minute 23 seconds to get to the actual game from the load screen. Now let's look at the graphics of this game. So this is the game running natively on Steam Deck. As you can see clearly, the foliage and the ground doesn't have the 3D structure that you would come to expect of a game like No Man's Sky, at least when running on PC. So everything kind of washed out, kind of bland, very flat. So this is something that I wanted to compare across different handhelds. And this is how it looks, which is not really bad for the device, it being handheld, but obviously not the best that No Man's Sky can deliver. So as you can see, all the ground is quite flat. The colors don't pop out as much. Even the flora, if you look at it from a distance, it doesn't have that 3D structure. It's more like flat. Now let's look at the same from GeForce Now, which is like the best graphics card that, probably not the best graphic card because it's running currently on 4080 on the ultimate tier, but still pretty good for a game like No Man's Sky. So what you'll notice here obviously is the ground has more 3D structure, there is more smoke, has more volumetric volumetric design, the fire looks good, the colors pop out much better. The performance in terms of frame rate clearly looks better. The ground has much better structure. It has this 3D texture, which is amazing, which you come to expect of a game running on such a high-end device. Although it's being streamed and there might be some condensing, but overall it looks amazing on Steam Deck through GeForce Now. Now let's look at the next device, which is a Switch. And as expected, this is probably on par with Steam Deck. I'll just pull the Joy-Cons out so that I can control the character. So if you look at the screen, everything is much flatter. I mean, it's worse than Steam Deck in many ways. But then it's also a 12-year-old device, so that would amount to something. If you look at the plane, it doesn't look as detailed as you would expect or as it does on high graphics settings. So probably it's the lowest, it's comparable to the lowest setting on a PC, which is not bad for a handheld, mind you. And like I said, a 12-year-old on that. So the colors are fine, they don't pop up as much, and it's kind of flat. Now let's compare the Flora. Here again, it's very flat. The colors are totally washed out. You don't see the same amount of detail that even Steam Deck had, let alone the one on GeForce Now. But then the game is playable, which is a feat in itself. Now let's move on to the latest device, the game running on Switch 2, which mind you is a free upgrade for anybody who has the game on Switch, and there's an ongoing discount, about 60% discount on the eShop. And if you get it on JB Hi-Fi, then it's quite cheap. I got this for about $40, which is pretty decent for a physical card. So now if you look at this game on Switch 2, it's definitely much better than Switch, even comparable to GeForce Now in many aspects, and definitely better than Steam Deck. Now heading to the Flora, which we compared across the 4 handhelds, this has definitely got much better details compared to Switch or Steam Deck, almost on par with GeForce Now. The frame rates are decent. I've heard that it's 30 to 40 FPS, which is good for a game of this size. Now let's compare the same thing across the 4 devices. The top left is a Steam Deck, the bottom left Switch, top right is GeForce Now, and bottom right is Switch 2. So unfortunately the lighting is not exactly the same for the top and the bottom row, so the colors might look slightly different. In these images, definitely Switch 2 looks the best, but we obviously know that GeForce Now is the best place to play this game on when on a handheld. Switch looks washed out, and between Switch and Steam Deck, I think Switch looks slightly better. But obviously the best way to play this game on a handheld is through GeForce Now, if you have GeForce Now subscription. Otherwise, I'm 100% sure that Switch 2 looks amazing right now. So No Man's Sky, if you want to play on a handheld, then it's definitely Switch 2 the place to go. Hope you like this quick comparison. Do let me know your comments. Do you have a Switch 2? Have you played these games on these handhelds? What is your general experience around playing on Switch 2? I would love to hear from you. For more such videos on gaming and pop culture, do subscribe to this channel. Geek Stradimus signing off. Good day.